I chain smoke and I say fuck a lot. But I accept myself for the way I am. I accept you too. Viewer discretion advised.
Well, this is pretty fucked up, but I feel like it needs to be addressed. Because as most of you know, I covered blind items for a while, mostly in 2018 and 2019. I kind of lost interest after that, but I did cover them. And if you don't know, a blind item is a Hollywood gossip column where stories would come out, but they would kind of leave the names anonymous so you can try to guess who it was. And I kind of saw them as like a puzzle because he would leave clues where you'd put the pieces together. But since I knew they were blind items, I knew they weren't verifiable, and I know everybody else knew they weren't either. We thought they were interesting. Anyway, like I said, I started losing interest in them in 2019, and then the whole Jeffrey Epstein arrest happened. And then in 2020, we had all the coronavirus bullshit. We've been kind of fighting that ever since. So I haven't done one in a while, but this just came out. And I know a few of you were trying to tell me, like Deary Kaplan on Twitter, but like I told you, I lost interest a while ago. And Drumsticks420, I saw your tweet to me today. From the Daily Beast. Crazy Days and Nights gossip blogger unmasked by furious ex-mistress. The story of how his identity was revealed could have been ripped from his own blind items gossip site. February 7, 2024. The anonymous author of the notorious Hollywood gossip blog Crazy Days and Nights inadvertently revealed his identity to a Florida court last year in the fallout of a messy extramarital affair that wouldn't be out of place in one of his website's famed, quote, blind items. Crazy Days and Nights, often abbreviated as CDAN, is infamous for publishing sensational and inflammatory claims about unnamed celebrities with little regard for accuracy. But some items have their footing in reality. CDAN's lead blogger, who uses a pseudonym, Anti-Lawyer, has been credited with beating major publications to the punch on several major stories, including Harvey Weinstein's predations. Though a handful of profiles about Anti-Lawyer have been published, they were written under agreements to keep his identity secret. But the Daily Beast has confirmed that the dirt slinger behind Crazy Days and Nights is licensed California attorney John Robert Nelson, who in 2018 ran unsuccessfully for Congress as a progressive Democrat. It's unclear whether he currently practices law or even practiced entertainment law. Nelson's secret life came to light because of an affair he had with a Florida woman that has spawned dueling legal complaints and accusations of abusive behavior. John Nelson, huh? Do you think he's related?
I can't live without your love and affection. I can't face another night on my own.
Last year, he sought a restraining order against a woman, Cassandra Croce, and included information in his filings to a Florida court that match up with the woman's claims on social media that he is the author of CDAN. In a complaint filed in the U.S. District Court for the Middle District of Florida on November 8, 2023, Nelson and his wife Victoria said that he engaged in an intimate relationship with part-time podcaster Cassandra Croce, and that the relationship turned sour after Croce learned that Nelson had entered the relationship under false pretenses. Nelson, in the complaint, alleged that Croce falsely claimed she was pregnant, falsely accused him of molesting her daughter, and barraged him with, quote, explosive, violent, and threatening calls and texts, up to hundreds per day. He said she threatened to reveal Nelson's online persona to the public, and that he paid her at least $1,500 per month or more in hush money, and stayed with Croce, quote, to keep her from exposing me, and because he was worried about the safety of his family. Despite the payments, Croce's anger, threats, and repeated references to his children drove the couple to seek a restraining order. When Croce learned of the couple's intention to go to court, she unmasked Nelson on social media and in podcast episodes. In his legal filing, Nelson did not outright state that he runs CDAN, which launched as a blog in 2006 and later added a podcast. But he wrote, quote, for much of the past 17 years, I have supplemented and then started making the vast majority of my income through an online blog, and then in 2018, a podcast. Throughout the entirety of this period, my identity has stayed anonymous. The complaint also mentions specific social media posts and podcast episodes published by Croce that disclose his identity. And the details of those line up with instances in which Croce claimed he was the author of Sedan. The initial case was closed on December 5, and Nelson filed a new case against Croce in Pinellas County Court, which is pending. Croce denied that she threatened Nelson or shook him down for money, and suggested many of the text messages he cited in his filing were not from her. Croce's relationship with Nelson became fodder for a podcast she co-hosted with her friend Tiffany Busby. On episodes of, quote, Drenched in Drama, Croce and Busby retraced what they allege was a web of lies that Nelson concocted. Quote, I was more scared of what would happen if I didn't speak out about it, or what he would keep doing, Croce told the Daily Beast. In her podcast debut episode, Croce said that in 2022, she purchased the opportunity to record an episode with Nelson from his Patreon account, which sells one-time co-hosting opportunities for $250. For her other podcast, quote, Cassandra Explains It All. Croce told the Daily Beast that Nelson continued to contact and record podcast episodes with her, and a romantic relationship ensued. He told her he was single and he lived alone. According to her recounting on her podcast, Nelson planned a trip to visit her in Florida for his birthday, during which they fell in love, and made plans to move in together. She said on the podcast that Nelson's wife contacted her with concerns that he was cheating, and that Nelson claimed his wife was an alcoholic and that he planned to separate from her. At one point, she claimed Nelson lied that he was going to a sports bar and then flew to his family in California. Nelson also mentioned this moment, but claimed that he was forced to lie to escape. Croce told her listeners that Nelson proclaimed he loved her up until the day he had served her with a legal notice. Croce also claims that Nelson abused her, allegations that also appear in a February 5 filing in state court that she provided the Daily Beast and read aloud in a recent episode of, quote, Drenched in Drama. In the court complaint, Croce alleged Nelson was violent on several occasions, choking, slapping, and hitting her without consent. She also alleged that Nelson told her on January 11, 2023, that he had killed women before and that he was smart enough to get away with killing her. Since outing Nelson, Croce has shared several audio recordings she said he sent to her during their relationship. The voice in the clips sounds the same as the voice of Enty Lawyer on Sedan's podcast on Patreon, and Croce shared several clips of Nelson speaking on camera, in which Nelson can clearly be seen and heard.
Glad that you decided to join me, Enty. Thank you for coming back.
You're very welcome. I'm happy to be back.
So you hear his voice there, and honestly, I've been subscribed to his Patreon for probably about 6 years, and yeah, it sounds just like him.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the podcast. It has been a couple of weeks since I've done a River Phoenix episode. Had Donald Logan, talked about River, talked about other things, had some Q&As in between, so it's time to get back to River. Obviously, if you look at pictures of her, she's definitely been very, very thin at times. There was one time Star Magazine said she weighed 98 pounds, and she said, no, I don't. I weigh 107 pounds, and you can come weigh me if you want. And so Star tried to go over there and weigh her a couple of times. And time to make a really bad movie, Silent Tongue. So he finishes Sneakers, and then he goes straight to New Mexico to make Silent Tongue. And I talked about it briefly at the end of the last episode I had done prior to Donald. She just didn't, follow through on it. But I think that, so if you think about, she's 100 pounds or so. Now I think she weighs more than that now, but yeah, but it's also probably why she's rushed to the hospital all the time, and why she's, has headaches and other things happening to her. It's because she's not eating. And if you don't eat for long enough, then it shuts your body down and bad things happen to your organs.
She would frequently communicate with Nelson on Zoom, sitting in on his Sedan podcast recordings, watching TV shows together, and seeing him masturbate. Nelson was obsessive about her weight and asked her to send him photos of herself on a scale.
Just a small snippet of something very, very dark. And also, like, other podcasters have played it now, so, or read it.
Let you sleep in the bed and not the dog cage, which is where you would have been if you complained at all during the day. You hate sleeping in the dog cage, because then I have to sleep alone in the bed and have no one to keep me warm and safe. I love you so much, baby. You're not selfish at all, except when you eat donuts and gain weight. You know, you're not supposed to do that, because then you're not giving me the very, very tiny body that I love you to have. Don't you want to be super tiny for me? So I'm turned on and I can show you off in crop tops and miniskirts. Don't you want to be my perfect trophy wife? Don't I deserve a trophy wife that is actually a trophy wife with a flat hard stomach and a huge thigh gap? When you eat bad, you don't give me that. And that's selfish.
That kind of sounds like some Nixium shit right there. On her podcast, Gross has described her relationship with Nelson as emotionally abusive and alleged that his harassment against her is ongoing via the legal system. To be honest, I didn't expect any of this, so look out for 2024. Who knows what's gonna happen? But it's fucked up. Fucking stoned.